Tonight, we're exposing one of the biggest lies of modern life because the food millions of people eat every single day may be silently destroying the human body from the inside. It looks harmless. A burger after work, fries during a road trip, pizza late at night, a cold soda on a stressful day. But what if that single meal triggers a dangerous chemical reaction inside your body within minutes? What if your brain, heart, liver, blood, hormones, and even your cells begin changing the moment fast food enters your mouth? Most people never feel the damage happening. No pain, no warning, no alarm, just temporary pleasure. But behind that pleasure, scientists are discovering something deeply disturbing. Chronic fast food consumption has been linked to obesity, diabetes, heart disease, fatty liver, depression, inflammation, and even cognitive decline. And the scariest part? Millions of people are trapped inside this cycle without realizing it. Tonight, we follow one fast food meal through the human body, minute by minute, organ by organ, cell by cell, to uncover what really happens after the first bite. And once you see the truth, you may never look at fast food the same way again. Part 1. The first bite. There's a reason fast food feels impossible to resist. The smell alone can trigger cravings before you even see the food. Fresh fries, melted cheese, sizzling meat, sweet soda pouring over ice. Your brain reacts instantly. Most people think they're simply hungry in those moments, but something much deeper is happening. Your body is already preparing itself for a powerful chemical experience before the first bite even touches your tongue. What makes this frightening is how normal it all feels. You sit down, unwrap the burger, take a bite, and everything seems harmless. But inside your body, an invisible chain reaction begins immediately. Your brain chemistry changes. Your blood sugar starts rising. Hormones shift into emergency mode. Your heart begins working harder. And deep inside your organs, silent stress starts building in ways most people never notice. The truly terrifying part is that fast food was never designed just to feed people. It was engineered to keep people craving more. Scientists, psychologists, food engineers, and billion-dollar corporations have spent decades learning how to make processed food almost impossible for the human brain to resist. Every layer of flavor, every texture, every smell is carefully built to trigger pleasure, comfort, and addiction-like cravings. And tonight, we are following a single fast food meal through the human body, minute by minute, organ by organ, cell by cell, from the moment the food enters your mouth to the hidden effects building silently inside your bloodstream, your liver, your brain, and your heart. By the end of this documentary, you may never look at fast food the same way again. Chapter 1. The Science of Craving. Before the first bite even happens, your brain is already being manipulated. Fast food companies understand something most people never think about. The human brain is extremely vulnerable to pleasure-based conditioning. Your brain contains a reward system powered by dopamine, a chemical deeply connected to motivation and craving. Many people think dopamine creates happiness, but scientists now understand that dopamine is more about desire than pleasure itself. It creates the urge to repeat behaviors again and again. Fast food activates this system with shocking efficiency. The combination of sugar, salt, fat, and artificial flavoring creates what scientists call hyperpalatable food. These foods are designed to overstimulate your senses in ways natural foods rarely can. Thousands of years ago, humans evolved in environments where sugar and fat were rare and valuable. Finding calorie-rich food increased survival, so the human brain evolved to chase these flavors aggressively. Modern fast food takes advantage of that ancient survival system perfectly. Your brain cannot fully distinguish between natural survival instincts and artificially engineered food experiences. That is why one burger often doesn't feel satisfying enough. That is why fries remain addictive even when you're already full. And that is why millions of people repeatedly crave processed food even when they know it may be harming their health. Children are especially vulnerable to this system. Bright colors, mascots, toys, jingles, advertisements, and emotional marketing create psychological attachment very early in life. Some studies have suggested children recognize major fast food logos before they can even read words properly. Imagine that for a moment. Before understanding language, many children already understand craving. And once those emotional food patterns are formed early in life, they can become extremely difficult to break later on. Chapter 2. The First Bite. The moment fast food touches your tongue, your nervous system explodes with activity. Taste receptors immediately send electrical signals to the brain. Salt activates pleasure pathways. Sugar triggers dopamine release. Fat stimulates sensory receptors that tell your brain this food is valuable and rewarding. Within seconds, your brain begins predicting pleasure before digestion has even properly started. This is one reason fast food disappears so quickly. People rarely eat it slowly. They consume it rapidly because the reward system temporarily overrides mindful eating behaviors. Unlike natural whole foods that often require more chewing and slower digestion, many processed foods are intentionally designed to be soft, easy to chew, and easy to swallow quickly. That may sound harmless, but chewing actually plays a very important role in controlling appetite and digestion. Chewing slowly gives the brain time to recognize fullness signals. Fast food bypasses much of that process. This means people can consume enormous amounts of calories before the brain fully understands how much food has entered the body. By the time fullness signals finally appear, the damage is often already done. Hundreds or even thousands of calories may have been consumed within minutes. And then comes one of the most dangerous parts of the meal: the sugary drink. Liquid sugar behaves very differently inside the body compared to solid food. Soda enters the bloodstream rapidly because there is almost no fiber-slowing absorption. Instead of a gradual release of energy, the body experiences a sudden flood of sugar. And inside your bloodstream, emergency systems immediately begin responding. Chapter 3. The Sugar Storm. As sugar levels rise rapidly in the blood, the pancreas jumps into action. This organ releases a hormone called insulin, whose job is to move sugar out of the bloodstream and into cells where it can be used for energy. In healthy situations, this process works smoothly. But fast food often creates glucose spikes far beyond what the human body evolved to handle regularly. One large soda alone can contain more sugar than the body naturally needs in an entire day. Think about that for a moment. A single drink can trigger a massive chemical response throughout the entire body. Your bloodstream suddenly becomes overloaded with glucose, and insulin levels rise aggressively to control the situation as quickly as possible. Some sugar gets used for energy immediately. Some gets stored in muscles. But excess sugar that the body cannot use right away is often converted into fat, especially around the abdomen and internal organs. This dangerous fat is known as visceral fat, and scientists strongly associate it with heart disease, diabetes, chronic inflammation, and metabolic disorders. What makes this cycle even more dangerous is what happens afterward. Blood sugar often crashes after these extreme spikes. That crash can leave people feeling tired, irritable, foggy, anxious, and hungry again shortly after eating. Even though the body just consumed huge amounts of calories, the brain suddenly starts craving more sugar and more processed food. This creates a powerful cycle of craving, overeating, and repeated insulin stress. Over time, the body can begin developing insulin resistance. This means cells stop responding to insulin properly, forcing the pancreas to work even harder. At first, the body compensates by producing more insulin, but eventually, the system starts breaking down. Blood sugar remains elevated longer, damage accumulates silently, and the risk of type 2 diabetes increases dramatically. Chapter 4. What happens to your heart? Roughly 30 minutes after eating fast food, fat particles begin flooding through your bloodstream. triglyceride levels rise, blood becomes temporarily thicker, and your cardiovascular system starts experiencing stress. Some scientific studies have shown that high-fat processed meals can temporarily reduce the ability of blood vessels to expand properly. In simple terms, blood flow becomes less efficient after certain meals. This may not sound dramatic at first, but think about what it means over years of repeated exposure. Every fast food meal places additional pressure on the cardiovascular system. Many meals also contain enormous amounts of sodium, sometimes close to an entire day's recommended intake in a single sitting. Excess sodium pulls additional water into the bloodstream, increasing blood pressure and forcing the heart to work harder. As this happens repeatedly, tiny injuries can begin forming along artery walls. The body attempts to repair this damage, but cholesterol and inflammatory substances may start sticking to those injured areas. Over time, plaque slowly builds inside arteries. This process can continue silently for years or even decades without obvious symptoms. Most heart attacks do not happen suddenly out of nowhere. The foundation is often built slowly through years of chronic inflammation, poor diet, stress, lack of exercise, and metabolic damage. While people continue living normal lives, laughing with family, working jobs, and following daily routines, dangerous changes may already be developing quietly inside the cardiovascular system. What makes this especially frightening is that many people feel completely normal during this process. The human body is incredibly good at hiding damage until problems become severe. That is why some individuals only discover serious heart disease after a major medical emergency occurs. And by that point, years of internal damage may already exist. Chapter 5. Fast food and the brain. Scientists are becoming increasingly concerned about the relationship between ultra-processed foods and brain health. Many people think fast food only affects body weight, but research suggests the effects may extend much deeper into mood, memory, energy, and mental health itself. The brain depends heavily on stable blood flow, balanced inflammation levels, healthy nutrients, and proper hormone regulation. Fast food disrupts many of these systems at the same time. Extreme sugar spikes can create unstable energy patterns. Chronic inflammation may interfere with important brain signaling pathways. Nutrient-poor diets may reduce important vitamins and minerals involved in mood regulation and cognitive function. And repeated overstimulation of dopamine pathways may affect the brain's reward system over time. Some researchers have compared certain eating behaviors around hyperpalatable foods to addiction-like patterns. People may experience cravings, compulsive eating, emotional dependence, and difficulty controlling consumption even when they understand the health consequences. This does not mean fast food works exactly like drugs, but scientists acknowledge that overlapping reward circuits inside the brain may play an important role. Sleep also becomes part of the problem. Heavy late-night fast food meals can interfere with sleep quality, digestion, and hormone balance. Poor sleep then increases cravings for sugar and processed foods the next day. This creates a self-reinforcing cycle where unhealthy eating and poor sleep continuously fuel each other. And perhaps most disturbingly, many people slowly normalize these symptoms over time. Brain fog, low energy, mood swings, fatigue, and poor concentration become so common that individuals forget what healthy energy and mental clarity are supposed to feel like. The decline happens gradually, making it difficult to notice until major health issues finally appear. Chapter 6. The hidden world inside your gut. Deep inside your digestive system lives an entire microscopic ecosystem known as the gut microbiome. Trillions of bacteria help regulate digestion, immunity, inflammation, metabolism, and even mood. Scientists now believe the connection between the gut and the brain is far more powerful than previously understood. In many ways, your gut constantly communicates with your nervous system. Healthy whole foods rich in fiber help beneficial bacteria thrive. Fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, and natural foods support microbial diversity inside the intestines. But many fast foods contain very little fiber while being packed with refined carbohydrates, oils, additives, preservatives, and artificial ingredients. Over time, this may negatively affect the balance of bacteria living inside the gut. Some studies suggest diets high in ultra-processed foods may reduce microbial diversity. This imbalance has been associated with obesity, inflammation, digestive problems, weakened immunity, and even mental health concerns. Scientists are still studying these connections, but one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The gut plays a massive role in overall health. Imagine feeding an entire ecosystem processed junk food every day. Eventually, imbalance begins developing beneath the surface. Harmful bacteria may thrive while beneficial bacteria struggle to survive. As this imbalance grows, inflammation and digestive dysfunction may spread throughout the body in ways most people never realize. The frightening reality is that everything inside the body is connected. The gut affects the brain. The brain affects hormones. Hormones affect metabolism. Metabolism affects inflammation. Fast food does not attack a single organ alone. It affects multiple systems simultaneously, creating a complex web of damage that builds slowly over time. Chapter 7. The emotional addiction. For millions of people, fast food is no longer simply food. It becomes emotional comfort, a reward after stress, a coping mechanism during loneliness, a temporary escape from anxiety, exhaustion, or sadness. This emotional relationship with processed food may be one of the strongest reasons people continue returning to it despite understanding the health risks. Stress hormones like cortisol increase cravings for high-calorie foods rich in sugar and fat. When people experience emotional pain, the brain naturally seeks quick sources of comfort and stimulation. Fast food delivers instant pleasure, instant taste, and instant dopamine release. For a short moment, emotional discomfort feels quieter, but the relief never lasts very long. Soon afterward, energy crashes, guilt, exhaustion, bloating, and cravings often return again. This creates a repeating emotional cycle where food becomes tied to temporary psychological escape rather than true nourishment. And modern society makes this cycle incredibly easy to maintain. In many parts of America, fast food has become deeply woven into culture itself. It appears during road trips, sporting events, late-night routines, stressful workdays, childhood memories, advertisements, and everyday convenience. Some neighborhoods contain more fast food restaurants than grocery stores selling fresh food. For many families, processed food is not occasional anymore. It is normal daily life. That normalization may be one of the greatest dangers of all. The body adapts slowly to unhealthy patterns, meaning damage builds quietly for years. Weight gain happens gradually. Blood pressure rises slowly. Fatty liver disease develops silently. And by the time many people finally receive a medical warning, the internal damage may already be extensive. Chapter 8. The silent organ. One of the organs suffering the most after repeated fast food consumption is the liver. The liver performs hundreds of critical functions inside the human body. It filters toxins, processes nutrients, stores energy, regulates chemicals, and helps control metabolism. But modern processed foods place enormous stress on this organ, especially because of excessive sugar consumption. Fructose, a common sugar found in soda and processed foods, is handled primarily by the liver. Unlike glucose, which can be used by many cells throughout the body, fructose heavily depends on liver processing. When excessive amounts arrive constantly, fat can begin accumulating inside liver cells. This condition is known as non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. What makes fatty liver disease especially frightening is how silent it can remain for years. Many individuals experience no obvious symptoms while damage slowly progresses beneath the surface. Meanwhile, inflammation increases, scar tissue may develop, and liver function can gradually worsen over time. Doctors are now seeing fatty liver disease in younger people at alarming rates, including teenagers and young adults. This was once considered far less common in younger populations. Today, many researchers believe modern processed diets play a major role in this growing health crisis. And this raises a terrifying question. If one fast food meal already triggers stress throughout the brain, bloodstream, heart, liver, and gut, what happens after years of repeated exposure? What happens when the body never fully gets time to recover? But this is only the beginning. What we uncovered tonight was just the first stage of the damage. Because inside the human body, the real transformation happens slowly over time. After weeks, months, and years of repeated fast food consumption. In the next episode, we expose what happens when the body starts adapting to processed food permanently. The slowing metabolism, the dangerous fat surrounding organs, the hormonal chaos, the addiction-like cravings, and the terrifying reason millions of people feel constantly tired, hungry, and mentally drained without understanding why. Because the deeper scientists investigate fast food, the darker the story becomes.